I recently finished editing a book that my father-in-law wrote. And the whole editing process reminded me just how important punctuation is in written communication. Sometimes just having the right words in the right order isn't enough to communicate a concept clearly. The placement or the misplacement of all those little spaces and dots and squiggles that we call punctuation can make a big difference in the meaning of a sentence. See, when you read a book, you read more than the letters. And there's more to writing than just stringing words together. What if an author decided that for his next book he was going to completely disregard all the rules of punctuation? How hard would it be to read a paragraph if all the letters were just jammed together in one big long string without any spaces or punctuation marks at all? Or what if the writer decided to use exclamation points where the spaces ought to go? Or maybe to use commas instead of question marks? Well, the readers wouldn't know how to read the words. They'd be confused and frustrated, and there's no way they'd be able to follow the story. For a story to make sense, you need punctuation marks. They separate and group the letters to form words, and the words to form phrases, and paragraphs, and chapters. And while we don't pronounce them, the spaces and punctuation are just as important to writing a sentence as a subject, or a verb, or an article or a preposition. Clear written communication would be impossible if it wasn't for punctuation. Your transition effects are the punctuation marks of your productions. They separate and connect shots and sequences and segments so the viewer knows how to interpret the edit. When they're used appropriately, most viewers don't even notice them. They just follow the story. But when they're used improperly or in unconventional ways, the audience can get confused. Why? Because while most viewers can't tell you what transition effects mean, they understand that something is being communicated when they see certain ones used. The three most common connectors in motion pictures are cuts, fades, and dissolves, and each one communicates something different. A cut typically indicates that a sequence of shots is connected in space and time. When we cut from one shot to another, we tell the viewer that these things are happening in that place at that moment. There's no lapse and there are no gaps. The dissolve or crossfade communicates something different. A dissolve is more like a line break that separates two paragraphs. The thoughts may be related, but they're not directly connected. In historical film grammar, a dissolve indicates a short passage of time or a change of location. So you might use a series of shots connected by dissolves to summarize a child's entire day with just a few clips. The dissolves tell the viewer that time is passing as we see the child doing different things in different places, but we understand that what we're looking at are highlights. The dissolve says, some other stuff happened, but it wasn't important enough to show you, so we took it out. And when people see dissolves, that's what they understand. They know that something has been taken out. This isn't real time that we're looking at. That's why you shouldn't use dissolves in interviews or scenes with dialogue. If you see one person speaking and then dissolve to another person speaking, the viewer gets confused. The sequence plays more like a montage than a real-time conversation. While a dissolve signifies a short lapse in time, a fade to black represents an extended passage of time. It's like starting a new chapter in that book. You might use a fade to black like this. We see a shot of a boy working on his bicycle. The scene fades to black and then back in on the similar shot of a grown man. Now we immediately know that this is the same kid, but now he's all grown up. Some simple white text might say 30 years later. The fade may have only lasted a second or two, but the viewer understands that 3 decades have passed during that brief dip to black. And now we're starting a whole new chapter in the story of his life. Some effects have taken on very specific meanings. The ripple dissolve is a great example of this. When we see a shot of that man with a thoughtful expression on his face, followed by a ripple dissolve to a shot of the boy, we understand that what we're watching from here on is memory. It's a flashback. And because this has been used so many times in so many different productions, you really can't use that ripple dissolve for anything else. It's always and only going to indicate a flashback to your viewers. DVEs, shape wipes, and 2D and 3D transitions are essentially exclamation points. Their purpose is to make a bang, to call attention to themselves. And when that's what you want to do, use them. That's what they're for. There's nothing wrong with using an imperative once in a while to indicate urgency. But if an entire production is strung together with an endless series of exclamations, the edit can seem to shout in the viewer's face. The key is to use your wipes and your DVEs in moderation and with purpose. Special effects need to stay special to be special. Of course, language and grammar and word meanings all change over time, and rules are made to be broken. You don't have to signal every single passage of time in your productions with a dissolve or a fade to black, but it does help to know how your audience interprets what they see. So go ahead, break the rules once in a while. Sometimes you might need to. Just understand that if you do choose to use unconventional punctuation in your productions, you might lose some people along the way. So expand your field of view by paying attention to your punctuation. Understanding the meaning of transition effects will help you edit more effectively.